Merry meet! Today I am going to be showing you how I make my ritual candle, incense, and oil blend for Beltane. And in these videos, I am going over and using the herbs, crystals, essential oils, and colors that are the most common for the Sabbat. I have done research in various books and resources about the Sabbats. I love researching about the Sabbats, and I noticed similarities. So I made a list of the most common items, common herbs, common oils, common colors, common food, all different types of correspondences for the Sabbat, from the most common to the least common. And the most common ones are the ones that people use most often for the Sabbat. So I am using the most common items for my Sabbats. As far as why I am using a particular herb or crystal or essential oil or color, I am, again, using what's most common. If you want to know what they're used for, what their correspondences and properties are, I recommend doing some research. Llewellyn's Complete Book of Correspondences by Sandra Kynes is a great resource. I'll link that in the description below. Also, Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, Eileen Holland's The Wicca Handbook. For crystal healing and crystal information, any book by Permutt or Judy Hall are great resources for learning the magical properties of these items that I'm using today and in my videos. So let's start by making our Beltane candle. So I have here a beeswax sheet. You can get them in the honeycomb pattern like this or in a solid sheet. And I am going to cut this to the length that I would like. These come in large, usually like 11 by 8 sheets. And this is already warmed up. Your beeswax sheets can get very brittle if they get very cold. So I recommend leaving it out to room temperature or even putting it in between your hands and warming it up. That's going to make it really pliable. See how pliable it is, how much I can bend it and it's not breaking? You want it to be really, really pliable, even kind of sticky to the touch. That way, when you go to roll your candle, it won't break on you. So I am just going to cut a little bit of this excess off that I don't need. And as you can see, I have a dark green beeswax I'm using. I'm going to put my essential oils on the candle inside of it. First one is going to be geranium. And I have this geranium bourbon, which really I think is the best geranium. I'm trying to get focus there for you. There you go. It's the best geranium out there, but any geranium will do. Geranium is a rose scent, and it's much cheaper than getting Rose Absolute. It's a really lovely rose scent. I'm going to put a few drops of that on the beeswax. As you can see, the honeycomb's nice because it will collect the oil. Then I'm going to put a couple drops of rosemary. Be aware of the viscosity of your oils because some of them come out really, really fast and some of them take forever. And lastly, I'm going to add some ylang-ylang. Ylang-ylang's a lovely tropical scent. And the ylang-ylang gets really sticky. So I have to use a cloth to open this one up. Couple drops of that. I'm going to use my finger and I'm going to just blend those oils together into the beeswax. You don't want to use too much oil on your beeswax because otherwise it will make the beeswax unstable. It'll break it up. It'll kind of like start to disintegrate it, kind of. There we go. Then I'm going to add a few herbs. I am going to use some rose petals. You don't want to use very many herbs in your candles. If you're going to add loose herbs to your beeswax candles to make your own rolled candles, don't use too much, because as you go to roll it, it might be too much for the candle and the wax, and it will start to break your candle up. Trust me, I've learned the hard way. So I'm going to break up this rose petal. Get it all in there. Next, I'm going to add some dragon's blood powder. And I have some cute little teaspoons that I use to get some of my loose herbs out. I'm just going to take a little small bit of that. And finally, I am going to add a little bit of orange peel. Next, I'm going to take my cotton wick. When you buy the beeswax sheets, they usually come with a cotton wick. I'm going to put that to the very edge of my beeswax and push it in to the wax to get it to stick, leaving a little bit on the top for you to burn it. Let's go ahead and roll up our candle. You can be gentle in this process just to make sure that you don't crack or break the wax while you're rolling it. And then I like to push the very end into the wax so that it sticks. Pinch off the bottom so none of your oil or herbs leak out. And there you have it, your Beltane candle. Put this into my little candle holder I have. There we go. Cute little candle. I am going to place a couple herbs around my candle when I burn it. I like to infuse the crystal energy. So I have some malachite, some carnelian, very red carnelian that I have, some bloodstone, and some raw emeralds. So I would just place these, I would set up the candle and place these around. There you have your Beltane candle. Next, we are going to make the incense blend. So I have my incense container right here, and I'm going to grab my mortar and pestle. Clean that out a little bit more. So for the incense, I am going to add a few rose petals. Next, I'm going to add a couple of jasmine flowers. Some peppermint. A little bit of meadowsweet. Some more orange peel. Some dragon's blood. And finally, a little bit of copal resin to help the herbs burn. I'm going to crush this up. See that copal crushing up? And then mix it together. There we go. Put this into my container. There we have our beautiful Beltane incense. I'm going to add a bloodstone to the incense to charge it. And then we are going to make the oil blend. So I have these cute little bottles that I'm going to use to make my oil blend, and a little funnel as well. So I'm going to use the same oils for the candle. I'm going to use some geranium. Geranium's pretty potent. When you're mixing essential oils, you want to make sure that the potent ones you add very little of, and the the less potent you add more of. So I'm going to add about 4 drops of of geranium. Excuse me. I need some rosemary for memory. Some geranium, and then I'll add, let's try 5 drops of rosemary. And we'll do about 3 drops of ylang-ylang. I'm going to go ahead and test the blend, see if it is the scent that I'm looking for. Definitely pick up the geranium and the rosemary. I'm going to add just a few drops, a couple more drops of ylang-ylang. All right. Yes, that is a lovely smell. We got the geranium in there, a little bit of rosemary, and then that base note of ylang ylang. Have my cap pieces. I'm going to put the protector into my cap and the stopper onto, or well, we will do that once we fill it up with carrier oil. So I have some sweet almond oil that I'm using as my carrier oil, and I'm going to watch and fill it up right to the elbow of the bottle. There we go. Now I'll put my dropper and get my garnet actually. So I have some little tiny vials of gems. This one has red garnet. So I am going to take a couple pieces of those little red garnet chips and add them to this oil to infuse that crystal energy into my oil. Now I'll put the dropper cap on and the lid, and we will mix this up and smell it one more time. That's a really lovely smell. That's a wonderful floral blend. A little bit of that rosemary in there. Lovely, lovely smell. So that is it. We have our candle. And I'll show you the crystals again as well for that candle. So we have our candle, our incense, and our oil blend for Beltane. I hope you have a blessed Beltane. Thanks for watching. Have a good day and a good night. And blessed be. Merry meet again.